As I'm back and I got a battle against VapourDrops from the Pokeladder. Here goes. It was a UUNU match, so here goes. Alright, I lead with my Hypno. He goes with his Ambipom. I switch out to my Sandslash, thinking that it's a physical Ambipom, and he fake outs, which does a decent amount of damage to my Sandslash considering it's defensive. And he U-turns, so I'm thinking it's not a choice ban, so I don't know what it has. And he sends out his Porygon too, and I just hit up Stealth Rocks. And fearing the Ice Beam, I switch out to my Arcanine, and he Thunder Waves, which was surprising. I didn't expect that, so my Arcanine had a Lumberry, so that kind of solved that problem there. And he sends out his Umbreon, and this thing gives me a problem the whole match. This thing just pisses me off. So I go for a Flare Blitz. It does about half. And I switch out, not knowing what he's going to do. And I go back to my Hypno, and he wishes. And at first I thought it might be a mean look, curse passer, but he has Protect. So I'm like, what the hell does he have? And I try to switcheroo, and it misses because he protected, and I was hoping to give him a choice scarf to lock him into something, but thinking he's gonna do a dark move, I switch, and he does payback, so I'm not sure what he is, other than maybe just a tank type Umbreon. He goes for a Toxic and misses as I Swords Dance. And on the switch, I go for another Swords Dance. So after they intimidate him on +3, he Earthquakes. And I'm thinking this is either a Scarfed or a Banded one, but I'm not sure. I live with 11 HP, and I Cross Poison, which kills him, and then Life Orb Recoil kills me. So, and I don't think that crit mattered, considering it was stabbed. Cross Poison with 1+3 attack, and that's a Life Orb attack based Drapion, so I don't think it mattered if it did. I'm sorry, but I switch to my Ambipom, I fake out, I switch out to my Tangrowth because he can take physical attacks pretty well, and he returns, and it does a good chunk. He U-turns, it does a pretty good chunk. He sends out his Weezing as I go for a Power Whip, and it doesn't really do a whole lot, but so I switch back out to my Hypno again as he Thunderbolts, and Hypno takes that like a champ because Hypno is amazing. So he withdraws and goes back into his Umbreon as I go for a Psychic because I didn't want to overpredict, and it doesn't affect Umbreon, of course. So I switch back out, go to my Arcanine again. He goes for a Toxic and gets my Arcanine. He goes for a Protect as I try to go for a Toxic. I just go for the Flare Blitz to get some damage on this thing. And it doesn't even do half, so that kind of sucks. So I've got about one hit left before I'm toast, and I just go for extreme speed. I should have just Flare Blitzed for the extra damage, but I just wasn't sure how much extreme speed would have done. So I switch out my Ambipom. He protects. I go for the U-turn. And I just U-turn again. And it does an okay chunk, but even with the choice ban, it still didn't really do anything. So I switch back into my Hypno. He protects after he wishes. And I go for Hidden Power, and it misses because he protected, and he gets his wish, and his HP goes back up. Like I said, this thing just gave me just a pain in my ass the whole time. So I go for a Hidden Power Fighting, and it doesn't do anything. And I was like, man, what the hell? It should have at least done something, more than a fourth. So I switch back out and go to my Tangrowth. As he wishes again. He goes for a Toxic. And I just go for a Leech Seed. Because if he stays in, it'll give me HP, and if he switches out, it causes a switch. So, either way, it works. He protects. I go for Sleep Powder, and of course it misses because he protected. He withdraws. I guess it's Sleep Fodder, but I end up just going for the Power Whip. And Poison's really doing a lot of damage to my Tangrowth. So, I go for the Sleep Powder on his Porygon 2. And I'm surprised that I was faster, considering I'm a defensive Tangrowth, but I don't know, what can you do? I get hurt by Poison, and it does a lot, so I think I switch out here. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I switch out. And I go to my Ambipom. And I wish he would have just kept it in so I could have done damage to that thing. Because that Porygon 2, you'll see what happens. But I fake out his Umbreon. It does a decent amount of damage. Or, wait, yeah, return. And a second return kills it. So, that takes care of that Umbreon, finally. And he switches out to his Weezing, and I switch out to my Hypno. He Flamethrowers. And it doesn't really do anything. And I get a switcheroo off, and I give his Gallade a Choice Scarf. So, even though he's faster, he can't really do much, so he Drain Punches. And I Shadow Ball. And it does a decent chunk, so I think I can... I don't know. I'll try another one if I can survive. And I don't survive because he gets a crit. And I send out my Sand Slash because my Sand Slash is defensive and can hopefully take a Drain Punch or two. And he takes it okay, but not as well as I wanted him to. And I just go for the Earthquake just to get some damage on this thing. And if he switches, because I know he's still got his Weezing, but I don't know. I figured just hit anything that could come in. And I go for Stone Edge, maybe thinking he might switch after seeing the Earthquake, or if I could get a crit, but I don't. And he Drain Punches again. And I think I can only live like one more, but I'm just going to stay in. And but I end up killing his... I guess I got a max damage Earthquake, and it ends up killing his Gallade. And he sends out his Weezing. And I just go for a Stone Edge, hoping for a crit. And even without the crit, it does an okay amount of damage. But I don't survive the Flamethrower. So I switch out my Ambipom. And I go for the return. And he barely survives and then explodes on me. And I probably should have just went for the Fake Out. But I thought return would have killed it. But it doesn't. And so he sends it back at his Porygon 2. And I think at this point all I have left is my Tangrowth. And if his Porygon 2 stays asleep, I can kill it. And that's what I was hoping for. So I Leech Seed it because it's his last one. And hopefully Leech Seed will help negate some of that poison damage. And I go for the knockoff to knock off his leftovers. And I should have Power Whipped instead to get some damage on it. but I figure without the leftovers, it's not going to give him recovery every turn, which can help. So I go for a Power Whip. And it does a good chunk, so I figure I can kill it. But he wakes up and recovers, and then it screws me. So he's awake, I'm poisoned, and I know my Tangrowth can't live in Ice Beam, especially after the poison. So, yeah. And the Power Whip misses. So that's even more, BS. And I live with 20 HP, and if that first Power Whip would have hit, the second one would have killed. But I lost, he won. Good game, VapourDrops. Hope to have a rematch sometime. Rate, comment, subscribe, guys.